Hi, Phil. Great to be talking with you. I hope you're well,
I'm good.
mate. This film is absolute brain food to me. Congratulations on bringing it to this point. I know it's been a long and I'm sure arduous process, but the
I think
product is
it's
just
brain damaged food.
yeah. Well, it's such a delicious film. Can you take me back to just the seed of Mad God? I know it's been with you for a long time, but how did the vision first strike you?
Um, well, years ago, uh, it was 1987 after we finished RoboCop 2 that we started, but it began before that, uh, years earlier, when I was trying to figure out a movie to make. And what I ended up with was kind of like a Mobius or Richard Corbin kind of a thing. And, at the end of the day, I just didn't like it. And so I started working on this thing that I didn't know what it was, doing drawings and watercolors. And eventually that turned into, um, over the period after we initially shot 3 minutes, 20 years of, the computer graphic revolution hit. And that occupied all of my time, um, getting into that, because I'd have to go to production meetings and on the set, and then, lengthy post production times. Um, and, but in the evenings or on the weekends, I would, or if I was on location, I would draw storyboards or creature designs, and did that for 20 years, along with reading Freud and Jung and Milton and Dante, and then books on archaeology and paleontology, which I knew, and human evolution. And yeah, I did that over a 20-year period. And my wife worked in the editorial department on Amadeus. So we would go out to dinner with Milos Forman. And I asked him, as a young filmmaker, uh, what advice he could give me. And he gave me the best advice, which was, and this is way pre thinking about Mad God. Um, if you want to take a good shit, you have to eat well. And it was like, yes, of course, the more time you have to develop something, the better the thing's going to be. And yeah, so I had 20 years of eating well. And by the time, you know, I, I was still working on the day job, but at my studio, I had trained other supervisors so they could go out and work on this stuff. And so that really freed me up.
Has the project always remained like a point of passion for you? Did you ever lose interest along the way, or was it just always on your mind?
Well, the word passion is an interesting one. And I looked it up in the dictionary, and it's from the Latin "pati," which means to suffer.
Mm.
That's what you do. That's what happens to you when you're doing something that you're totally involved with. I mean, there is a lot of suffering that goes on. You know, my wife would be neglected, and I was just completely absorbed by this thing. And eventually I got lost and had a mental breakdown and had to go to a psych ward. And are you familiar with Jung's The Red Book?
I know of it, but I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, so it's something that he did over about a 16-year period. And it's a beautiful book with, just immaculate, handwritten calligraphy and, amazing paintings. And, but Young got lost in that. The journey he took was a really deep, and you don't know that where you're going when you're doing this kind of thing, because the unconscious is serving you, and never know where something's going to come from, or what path you're going down. And I just got lost, and so did Young. And Young, his family pulled him out of it, and I imagine they sent him to a psychiatrist. And so that really set me back for weeks. And it took about 6 weeks to recover from that.
Right. Would you? I would say this movie's your magnum opus. Do you think it's the most proud you've been of a project?
Oh, by far.
Yeah. It's not many people have a life's work, and this one just sort of is precisely that. And stop motion in general just puts the biggest smile on my face, and I love it. Have there been any contemporary stop motion movies, of recent that inspire you?
None. I was, I really loved Ladislav Starovich and Jerry Trinka stuff, but when it all turned into The Nightmare Before Christmas and all those movies, no, I was totally not interested in that. Or Pixar movies, I don't like. I don't like that. Well, I got really bored with the narrative 3-act structure, and I studied that for years, writing treatments and outlines. And, it was just like, I realized that formal kind of academic approach was extremely limiting. It was like putting you in a cage. Are you familiar with the term solipsism?
No.
It's it means you can only know your own mind, and you can't know anything else. It's impossible. If you think, you do, you're kidding yourself. And that's another cage, that, you're locked inside your brain. But there's an entire universe in there. And you just go down different paths, and you never know where any of the paths are going to lead.
Yeah, right. It's just fascinating. I can't even imagine the headspace you're in making something like this. And given all of the other projects you've done along the way, have there been any filmmakers in that time that have, I guess, influenced the direction the film takes or inspired you?
Well, just to go back a bit, I forgot how you started out, but there was something. Maybe it'll come to me. So I'm sorry. What was your question?
I was just thinking, you've done so much work. The volume of your work is immense. Along the way, whilst this movie's being made, were there filmmakers that you worked with that influenced things you did on Mad God or inspired you with certain elements of it?
Paul Verhoeven was, really a mentor to me, and we had the same worldview, pro-Palestinian, and we were talking, we sit around and talk philosophically, and we came up with that we were existential Buddhists.
I like that.
Yeah. So I like where Paul's mind went. He's an artist. And he doesn't care if his films make money, but they're all one of a kind. And Starship Troopers was I had the most fun on that, and RoboCop.
Yeah, fantastic. And look, if I can indulge you just for a moment, I am one of those few self-professed people that just love Starship Troopers too. So thank you very much for that one. I reference it on my podcast a lot.
Oh well, okay. That was I had no interest in directing, live action.
Yep.
And because I worked around these guys and I saw what it took, and it was just exhausting. And I just don't have that mindset. But John Davison, the producer of Robo and Starship Troopers, he was a big stop motion fan and supported me and helped me in building my studio. And for various movies before Starship Troopers, and it was his idea to do Starship Troopers 2 because he thought it could make some money, and so it was totally a financial thing.
Mm-hmm.
I needed money, Ed Newmeyer needed money. John was set, because he was, he'd produced all these, terrific pictures. But yeah, that was where it really all began.
Well, if I was in the same room as you, I'd have you sign my copy. I do like it a lot.
Yeah, but other filmmakers other than Paul, not really.
Yeah, right. Well, that's good.
Lucas and Spielberg and Ron Howard were all that stuff was. I mean, I was really happy to work on them, really jazzed, and really liked the movies, but it was that kind of commercial structure, that where it has to play to a paying audience.
Mm.
So I took the road that Paul takes, and it's just like I just follow my heart. There's in the equivalent of interviews with Bach, Beethoven, and Mozart, when asked how they write their incredible music, they just said, "I transcribe it." It's just God that is really writing it, and that's accurate.
Mm-hmm.
And Mad God was a very kind of a emotionally biblical project for me, and of course I wasn't expecting that, but there's definitely a religious side to it that's not Christian. Many, if not most, of the European interviews and video chats were really aware of all the context, biblical. They noticed, and they noticed Dante and Milton, and on. And in the United States, that's just never happens.
Yeah.
We're not educated over here.
There's definitely an Inferno sort of, feel to this one. It's the ultimate mindfuck. I didn't need any substances to feel completely displaced in my own head.
Yeah, I tried to. I decided to try and watch it, and took like marijuana, like gummies, and I took a lot of them, and it was no different with that and not.
Awesome. Well, we're getting the wrap up here, so I'm going to let you go. But on our podcast every week, it never goes by without referencing your work in one way or another, from RoboCop to Evolution or Star Wars, even Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. So needless to say, it's been a huge privilege for me to have this opportunity. So thanks so much for your work, and thank you for the, like I said, the mindfuck.
Well, my pleasure.